That's a node in 372 days, only needs 660 delta V, which is pretty nice. We'd have lots of delta V left. I don't like the idea of waiting a whole year before we start the maneuver, and then of course it's going to take a while before we actually get to Kerbin as well. So in a year we do the burn, and then, well, probably in a half a year we intersect Kerbin. Now, we do have enough food for that, especially since this is, so we got a year and 3/4 worth of supplies as is, but that doesn't take into account the fact that we're using the greenhouse to stretch our food supply. So actually we'd be fine. Just out of curiosity, can we get the advanced transfer to another planet thing working? No, for some reason I haven't been able to get this working properly in a while. So I don't know. So it figures in just over a year we can do a burn from basically the periapsis to raise from the other side, and we'll get interaction. And as I was saying, that's about right, because we're ahead of Kerbin and we are orbiting faster than Kerbin. We have to basically wait until Kerbin is slightly sort of ahead of us or something. I don't know. Looks about right. All right, let's do it. Quick save again. Execute node. I guess first it's going to turn me to face the node direction, then it's going to time warp. And what we'll do is we'll check this in a little while. It's going to give us lots of time for our science to accrue. Again, we're making about 6 science per day for free right now. So actually in about 50 days, not 50, but I was going to say less than 100 days, because 100 days, because it's 6, so yeah. So I don't know, 75 days? What's our mission time right now? So actually, abort this for a sec. We're going to add an alarm, an arbitrary alarm, for, say, 75 days from now. Add an alarm. There you go. Now execute that. So that way we don't time warp past this, and then we'll go and empty our science, and we'll do that. Kerbal year is 450 days. Oh, that's even better for us then. So it's less than a year to get to the maneuver. That makes sense with other things I'm seeing. Kerbal day is 6 hours, and a Kerbal year is 450. Cool. Time warping. Laggy time warp. There we go. Closing in on that. So Kerbal alarm clock is automatically going to de-warp us, but we have to tell this to abort the node execution. Otherwise, I did that too early, but that's okay. Tell you what, let's cancel that. Check this. Look at this. 300 science just waiting for us. We're just going to transmit this. It's our scientists. That's who's in here again? In here, we got Pulling Tractor and Dragon Wealth in here, and I think Katie Cat in the other module is also helping. They are sciencing the hell out of some of this data well before we even get to Kerbin. I mean, literally, the most qualified scientists on the entire planet of Kerbin are effectively in this ship. Plus, we got a couple more level 2 scientists at home as well. And they're able to do a better job working the science here in 0G and everything than the science just transmitting it back home. Basically, more pairs of eyes, slightly different context, and they've got nothing else to do. They're bored. We didn't bring any DVDs, and you can't get Netflix out here. Not even with a VPN. I know, it's tragic. So we're transmitting 300 science that we're getting for free here. And we're not even close to done. We still have 430 units of data just sitting around over here. And speaking of, if I wanted to cap that out again, what I could do is take a quick look at our stored data, because there's one that was around 70, I think. So we could top that off very nicely. There we go. Boop. Oh, not enough? Right. Okay, so we have to wait like another day. Oh, there we go. We'll just top it up with 56. I don't know. I think the amount of data that is stored might affect the rates. Oh my god, a battery just short-circuited right now. We need Malkuth to do another EVA over here for us. Keep that. That was weird. You're gonna grab a spare part. I mean, I wonder, should I do like... Should I do an inspect over here? Like, is there any maintenance that has to be done? No, everything's good as new, so presumably not. Battery. We're going to repair the battery using our spare. There we go. And I mean, I don't need that battery, so maybe I should just save the parts for something else. Although we probably have some spares in here too. Yeah, we have another 15 units of spare parts. 10 spares, I think, is enough to replace a whole engine. Or repair a whole engine that's completely failed. Although maybe this one take more because it's bigger. Okay, so I'm going to set another alarm over here. And again, we're going to use a raw time alarm, about 75 days worth, and execute the node. Because then we'll have more science ready to go. Yeah, that battery, I don't know. Not built to last. We're just time warping. So, because... Hang on, I'm reading these lines wrong. The purple line is Eve's orbit. So we really did come in on the lower orbit. So really far from ideal. Still, we're going to be able to get there. It's fine. Right. Abort the node execution. Delete this alarm. It's time for us to transmit some science again. We have 400 units of science. Transmit. And yeah, the rate is going down, so I think the rate might have to do with how much science is stored. So if we can cap this out, and we can, because we're at 405. So we can put that in, and then keep the rest. Do. And you can still keep that data. Yeah, so the rate does go up based on how much science is in there. Okay, so try to keep the data as full as possible, and then you convert it that much faster. So we are still sending this data, this science here. It's 406 units of science. Just crunching it. Do. What's funny, though, I'm willing to bet if we had bopped our orbit higher, it would probably taken longer for us to get in the right place for a home and transfer over to Kerbal. Because by being in a lower orbit, we're looping around faster and we might sync up more. I don't know. Just waiting for this data to finish uploading. That 400 science we're sending over here. Bonus science! When you get to the point where you've got the stuff unlocked and you've got enough engines to bring these science things, bring them for any long trip. If you're not using any life support mods, then it becomes awesome because you could just like leave them there for 10 years. Who cares, right? But also any planetary stuff is pretty good for that. So that's another bunch of science for free. So again, I will add an alarm for about 75 days from now, and we're going to start time warping. We still have 246 days before we get to our maneuver point. We still have a year and 45 days worth of food as is. That's if the greenhouse failed to work completely. And we're only about apparently half a... Oh, shoot, something just failed. Abort. Oh, no, that's a contract deadline for biome. That's fine. No problem. Quill, I'm unfamiliar with dang it. Is it worthwhile to send the engineer out of the craft to inspect, or you get messages? You get messages when something goes wrong. In fact, it'll even fire off an alarm, a very loud alarm, if it's a critical system. Like, for example, an engine failure, it'll just ring until you stop it to ring. It should auto de-time warp you as well. Oh, things are fighting a little here with time warp. Abort node execution. Because it's time for us to send science. 408 units of science. Transmit. And... Keep. Process. Keep. Excellent. 400 more units of science that we wouldn't have had if we didn't bring a science lab. Again, added a tremendous amount of weight to the ship. Plus, you have to crew it, which also means we have to bring more supplies. But that's a lot of extra stuff. How do you tell me there's not enough data to research? It's clearly got it. Oh, no, I think that message happens because the Pioneer module works slightly different from the normal mobile lab. So we didn't bring the normal mobile lab. And our greenhouse is only working at like 50% efficiency. If we brought an extra couple of modules that you can tick on with this life support stuff and this UKS stuff, we could generate even more food and like maybe never run out. I don't know. I don't think we're quite at the point. Load the efficiency. I don't know. Not sure what we had to do to like never run out of food until we ran out of machinery. And this machinery is very heavy and very expensive. We probably could have brought less, although the amount of machinery you have does affect, I believe, the efficiency of the greenhouse. So if we brought less to save weight, I think our greenhouse wouldn't necessarily have been quite as strong. But then we had effectively a lot more delta V, so, you know, how do you balance these things? And we're just waiting for this upload to finish again. I think I'm using the best antenna I've got, too. And 100%. There we go. We're so much science already waiting for us, and that doesn't even mean the science that we're bringing home. We're actually not necessarily bringing home that much science. We're going to get more science from the science lab than anything else we do on this entire mission. Yeah, very important. So another 75-day alarm. Loop forward. Or warp forward. Just don't want to hit the science to hit 500 and then to stop being produced, you know? Because it'll just freeze. So that's us. Oh, we do the maneuver down here. Yeah. So yeah, it's full loop. We're doing a loop and a half of the sun over here. Because we started somewhere up here. We looped all the way through it, and then are coming back around. Oh, and abort that, because the two things are fighting again. Transmit science. And we're a little under 400 data. Do we have something else to add right now? That's 175, so we can't do it yet. All right, let's put in the 56. That'll be fine. Okay, so I think the only other thing we can store in here after this is the material study, which is 175. So we'll have to wait until we get to 325 or lower before we stuff it in there. Think the crew are tired of eating potatoes? No, it's all candy bars. Or chocolate bars, depending on where you're from in the world. Although I kind of consider like a Mars bar to be more of a candy bar than a chocolate bar, because like most of it's not chocolate. As a Canadian, we never normally say chocolate bar, but I've got this idea in my head of the Mars bar, and it's like, nah, that's mostly candy. Thin outer chocolate layer. Now, like an arrow? Oh, I like those. The bubbles? Mmm. But that's a chocolate bar to me. Boom, boom, boom. They don't eat food, they eat snacks. They eat noms. It's actually just generically called supplies. Supplies! The Calmarius Cruiser Mark 1. 5 crew. Mission time so far, 2 years, 42 days. That's how long this mission has lasted so far. And they'll be out here at least 3 years. But we're only 3 months away from the next node, 96 days. Just waiting for this data to transmit again. Go ahead and... I actually don't think we'll need to add another alarm. We might hit the 500 science limit, but that's okay. It's not like we're going to lose anything. Let's execute the next node. I don't think you lose anything. I think it just stops processing. So what we do is we lose a couple of extra days worth of science. But at worst, it'd be a couple of days. So 90 days to the maneuver. So you can see here, we're coming in behind the planet. This is the sort of the opposite of when we're coming down. We're behind the planet we're going to. And we're going to raise our orbit up, but because we're still below in orbit the whole time, we're going to be constantly catching up. And the idea is, by the time you've caught up, is also the time that you're at the right height, which is exactly what should happen here. 2 days from the maneuver. And the opposite, when we came down, we were ahead, right? The position's relative to the same. This transfer window is, I believe, the same, whether you're going one way or another. It's you want things to be roughly in these positions. You know, assuming we were a planet as opposed to Eve being here, roughly in the same position, whether you're going up or down, because you either, if you're going down, you want to be ahead, so that, you know, because the other thing is catching up. If you're going up, you want to be behind, because you're catching up. And so the relative position is the same. So there's transfer windows. So you could have ships go in both directions at the same time. All right, so we're going to do a 648 meter per second burn. Let's check the science. We're at 473. Let's transmit that. And we don't quite have enough data storage for the next thing. So we're going to have to wait a few days for us to burn through more science and make some more room and cap that off. But I want to, because right now we're only researching 4.3 science a day. So I want to have this as full as possible so we can process as much as possible. And there's no cost. Transferring data from one to the other, you still bring it home. You can still either transmit it directly if it's something that's good for transmitting, or you can bring it home. This is all bonus science if you can invest the weight. So we're going to do this burn. And it's going to cause us to intersect Kerbal right over here. I'm going to call this is probably going to be about a little under a half a year to get over here. It's a little over the course of our orbit here, but we're doing less of an orbit than the full Kerbal orbit. So probably a little less than half a year for us to intersect Kerbal. So then the big question is, can we aerobrake without burning up? It's going to be a huge question mark. See you, the P squared. Thanks for stopping by. So what we're probably going to do is try to hit the Kerbal orbit or sorry, the Kerbal atmosphere relatively high. So we got a lot of time to burn off some speed going through the air. I might target something like 35 kilometers. It's possible at that point that we'll hit that periapsis, slowing down, but we might still have enough speed to sort of pop back out of Kerbin's atmosphere at some point. But at that point, we should at least be within a Kerbin orbit as opposed to an escape velocity, which is what's going to be important. Here's hoping. Yes, we have a heat shield. Right here. But I gotta say, with Ferrum Aerospace, I have had some weird and unexplainable explosions from time to time. No heat meters show up, everything looks 100% stable, then something explodes. And if I like reload and do it again, hey, the science just finished. 473, wow, that's a lot. You reload and you do the exact same thing again, and everything is fine. So I think with Kerbal 1.05, which is what I'm playing, and Ferrum, every now and again there's something a little bit weird with the re-entry aerodynamics. Very bizarre. But hopefully it won't be a problem. Okay, and that's the burn. Can you feel the burn? So, I don't quite have an intersection here. And I think it's just because of inclination issues. We're actually almost at the ascending node right over here. What are we looking at? 2.8. So what we want to do is add a maneuver. With my maneuver planner, another contract went away. That's okay. With my maneuver node editor, I should say, there's a nice button where I can ask it to snap to the descending node. So it'll be like, oh, sorry, ascending node. So it'll be at exactly where I want it. It's the wrong side of the node, though. I think because it fast forwards it to. Ascending node of the target. There you go, in 10 days. Perfect, that's what we want to do. And what we want to do, so this is the ascending node, so what we want to do is burn anti-normal to bring down our angular difference over here. Yes, no, maybe so. One degree of difference. 0.9. I mean, I guess I could ask MechJeb to just do it for me. Because then you click the wrong thing. Wow, that's a lot of delta V. How come it's so much delta V to do the planar change, the inclination change from over here? I'm actually really surprised. I guess it's because of my relative speed. We're getting that encounter fix, though. So we're doing it right. If we just scooch this forward a wee bit. Backwards, actually. No? Zero, zero. 0, 0. So we're bang on, but we don't quite get the approach. So a little retro. It like just goes away instead of showing me that there's an encounter. Doesn't make any sense. There it is. I can do less of a burn here. Or not. Oh, wrong way. That way. Reduce some of the delta V. Save some more for some maneuvering later on. There we go. We can get encounter here at 553. There's a way for me to tune it better. Yeah, see, coming in a little high. Then it goes away. Then it's back. Sometimes when you do these maneuvers so far away, it's hard to get somewhere you're really happy with. All right? Still coming in pretty wonky. It doesn't really matter what angle I'm coming in at, though. For this, I don't have to be equatorial in any way whatsoever. As long as I do get my rendezvous in some way. I guess we can get more equatorial that way. There we go. It's a little bit better. How come I'm not getting a... Oh, I'm getting a moon encounter here. But it looks like, assuming all the calculations are good, this will get me where I want to be. I don't know if this moon encounter is good for me or not, but... How much delta V do I have left? I would be, presumably, if all the math is correct, and floating point errors being what they are, if they are, I should have a little over 100 delta V left, and be hitting the atmosphere, so I can still tune things when you get closer. That's a lot of faith to be asking for some math from so far away. You don't want equatorial if you're coming clockwise. Yeah, I guess equatorial really, like, I can come in polar. It makes no difference. Like, it really doesn't. You can actually save a scooch of delta V. Come in this way, not worry about the moon. Let's call this good. I mean, yeah, I guess ideally I come in the other side. That way the momentum's not as bad. Yeah, I really do want to come in on the other side. Something like this, because then I'm coming in the same direction as the planet, and then that's when you want equatorial, because the planet's going the same direction as you are, so you don't have to bleed off quite as much speed as you might have needed to otherwise. Alright. There's going to be rounding errors and all sorts of imprecision, but let's assume we want to come in something kind of like this. Something kind of like this is what we're looking for. It'll have to be tuned. Using again, we're going to have a little over 100 delta V to make adjustments. We're not quite coming in the atmosphere now, but we'll be able to tune that. There's no way this number is going to be what we end up with after we do this burn. But we'll save this. We are waiting for more data to be used up so we can put it in there. So go ahead and execute. You'll turn the right way. We'll move ahead 10 days. We might be able to store the material bay data at this point. Yeah, this would be a great cliffhanger. Oh my god, the stream's going on way too long. It was supposed to be a short stream. We're supposed to be done the multiplayer at this point. I blame the fact that Dwarf Fortress is crashing. I gotta finish this mission though. I mean, come on. Right? Yan Yan! Hey, thanks for the sub. Resub. Alright, slowing down. We're 2 hours away from the maneuver. Less than an hour, half an hour, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. We're going to burn for a minute 34, and we have a minute 48 left in the tank. We're cutting this really close with our Delta Vs. Really close. So it's certainly not the mission to like hit Gilly and Moho in the same way, obviously. But actually, this is a really successful manned EVE mission, and normally I would do it unmanned first, which would cost a fraction of the amount because probes are super light. But we wouldn't be able to run all the experiments, we wouldn't be able to repeat experiments, and we wouldn't have the science lab. Speaking of science lab, transmit what you got. We still don't have quite enough room. We've got to burn through 25 more data over here before we can store any more stuff in there. So let's hope this maneuver is correct. Otherwise, we're not going to have enough Delta V to do anything. Where's the planet right now? Oh yeah, right over there. So focus view. It'll only be right at the end of the maneuver that we start to see anything over here. We might even want to consider derating the engine when it gets really low, just to finish off the maneuver. Or what I'll do is I'll mostly finish this, get close, and then tune it a little bit later. The further away you do a maneuver, the less Delta V you need to do it. But the problem is it's harder to get precise in there because small changes make a big difference. Also because of floating point errors, sometimes you've done the maneuver, you think everything is awesome, you get there and you're like, wait, this isn't what I planned at all. What's going on? If we were to miss the atmosphere here, it would be bad, because then we would slingshot off of Kerbin, and I mean probably just end up in a solar orbit again. But it would make it pretty hairy for a rescue mission. It would take, because of having to do encounters and things like that, it would be, I guess we could probably do it, because we wouldn't be that far off of Kerbin. And we'd probably know ahead of time that it wasn't working. So you can see here, we do have a Kerbin encounter that it thinks. Bring it down. And again, what I'll probably do is kill it before we quite get there. So at some point soon, it's going to have a hard time chasing it. It does like lower it down. The last thing I want is for this maneuver to accidentally like overshoot a tiny bit and waste a tiny bit of thing, but it looks like we're okay. No. Excellent. What are we looking at now? Periapsis of 112. So this is slightly above the atmosphere, which is not good because then we're not hitting the atmosphere, we're not slowing down. I don't know what the sweet spot is for the atmospheric number that we're looking for at this point. I do want to come in quite high because I want to slow down as much as possible in the thin air before we get into really soupy stuff. On the other hand, I really don't want to, just slow down a bit, find myself slingshot back in the high orbit, and then come back in too steeply or something like that. Although I guess it wouldn't change the parry that much. So I'm thinking of targeting like 35 kilometers. Normally I'd be aiming for about 25. I think 35, there's a chance we won't stop on the first pass, but that might actually be okay. As long as it doesn't fling us out so far that we run out of food. So overall I think we're okay. Let's go ahead and just send me like, just 50 days ahead. Just for the science. And then also we'll take that opportunity maybe to plan a tunage on our path. Just out of curiosity. How far are we from this encounter? 92 days. Oh, we're really not that far. Well, that's a lot better than I thought. Still had 10 days left on that alarm, but... excellent! Look at this. 312 data. That is excellent, because what it means... Again, we'll review the stored data, and keep... 175. That'll top us off to basically 500 again in the research bay. So again, we only have a month and a half, no, 3 months to process as much of this data as possible. How much food we got left? We still have 340 days worth of food. We're going to be encountering the Kerbin sphere of influence in 92 days. We don't have like a whole lot. If we didn't have the greenhouse, we would have run out of food. But using the greenhouse is making a huge difference. Need to hit a tad under 41k, you figure? I actually wondered 35 might be too low. At 40, you're going to get slowed down no matter what. It should be more than enough to stop you from escaping Kerbin, right? So, and the higher up, the more of a margin for error you have about not overheating too much. We got enough food. We could afford to just clip the atmosphere enough to get into some sort of big Kerbin orbit, loop around a second time, and come back. It might be worth trying. I don't know. Okay, so... that's good. What I want to do is... I'm going to warp to around here. And we'll do an adjustment. Again, the further out you do it, the less delta V you need. But half the time you do the maneuver and it doesn't really work out the way you were thinking it would anyway. So, alright, I've got my focus set on Kerbin already. So what I'm going to do is plan a maneuver here. Still far enough away that... oh, no. Ah, focus you. Had target but not focused. So what we want to do here, let's keep that up, and we want to bring down our periapsis, which we actually don't know what direction that'll actually do. It might be, yeah, slightly prograde here. But you can see it's just like a scooch of prograde, just a tiny... oh, look at this burn. It's going to be less than 1 meter per second. What? No, there's going to be too much noise at this point. I mean, again, I can derate my engine, and I should. But even with that, it's going to be incredibly impossible. Like a 0.1 meter per second change sort of starts getting us there. A 0.2 is too far. We'd crash into the planet.